The Nigeria Labour Congress has declared a two-day warning strike over the removal of fuel subsidy. The strike, which will begin next week Tuesday, is in protest against the federal government for failing to address the challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. The NLC is accusing the federal government of going back on negotiations and failing to implement some of the resolutions from previous meetings that were held. On August 2, organized labor held a protest on what it describes as the anti-people policies of the current administration. While the protest followed a 7-day ultimatum issued to the government demanding the immediate reversal of the recent hike in the price of petrol, increase in public school fees, and the release of the months of withheld salary of university lecturers and workers.
The Council scrutinized the federal government's failure to establish essential structures to address the widespread suffering in our nation. Furthermore, it is considered that the government's deliberate neglect and disregard for engaging the national stakeholders through the channel of social dialogue, a commitment it has solemnly declared during the President's inaugural speech on May 29, 2023. It further examined the renewed threats against trade unions and their leaders by various governors and the organizations, and was alarmed on the new dimensions and shape these sudden events have taken. Consequently, NEC in session resolved as follows: to embark on a total and indefinite shutdown of the nation within 14 working days or 21 days from today until steps are taken by the government to address the excruciating mass suffering and the impoverishment being experienced around the country. To commence a 2-day nationwide warning strike on Tuesday and Wednesday, 5th and 6th of September 2023, to demonstrate our readiness for the indefinite strike later in the month, and to also demand that the state vacates the illegally occupied national headquarters of the National Union of Road Transport Workers. To embark on a mass protest and rally in Imo State within this month of September 2023 in preparation for a shutdown of the state to compel the state government to stop the abuse and violation of the rights and privileges of workers and trade unions in the state.
Well, let's bring in the president of Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. Thank you, Joe, for joining us on Newsnight. There's been a back and forth over this issue of fuel subsidy removal between your union, the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, and the federal government. It's beginning to look like the union keeps barking, pardon my French, without biting, you know. So what exactly are you up to this time around?
Well, the same barking and biting, bearing if any other circumstance, any other development. It will bark, will bite. But part of our policies, part of our structure permits us to negotiate even if at the last minute. And we have attempted that twice, and we can now say convincingly that the people we are dealing with are not serious. So that's the situation. You know, if backing alone has not solved the problem, we'll try to bite, but not to bite to destroy the foundation of the nation. We'll back and bite if that will solve the problem.
Speaking of biting, it does seem that even the biting is not, you know, it doesn't affect government in any way, because you've threatened, you've gone on strike. In August, you went on a 1-day strike or warning strike. And the government actually pleaded with Labour to, give it more time to address those issues that you've been, harping on. It does seem that strikes are not working anymore. Does Labour have any other options on the table?
What works? If strike doesn't work, what else works? If you say we have been backing and we don't bite, allow us to bite now and see whether the bite will not work, whether it will not pain, whether it will not achieve the desired result. You agree with me that we have been backing. You equally agree with me that federal government has been asking for time to do something. This is now in the court of public opinion, that in all those occasions they have asked for time to do something. They have failed to do something. I think the blame should go further on the people that have been living on broken promises, and not the people, in quote, who say that they are not biting. At the end of the day, you will discover that those people who are backing and not biting are more patriotic and are committed and are weighing the options. What determines a strong man is not the one that destroys at every time, but you have to equally weigh the options. And having tried that 3 consecutive times, we can tell you that 3 months after the removal of fuel subsidy and government has broken promises 3 times, I think nobody can blame us. No reasonable Nigerian, no genuine Nigerian will tell you that we have not shown enough commitment, enough understanding as Nigerians.
So what has changed since the last time you had a meeting with the federal government? Has anything changed?
Nothing. Nothing has changed. That's why we have come back to the drawing board. We have come back to where we were, before we left then, after our 1-day rally. And then the National Assembly said, give us 1 week. They actually met us. After 1 week, the Senate President said, I will take it to the President. The President, met with us, that same day and said, oh, give me time to restructure the team negotiating with government. 4 weeks after, nothing has happened. Nothing has changed. Not even a meeting. Not even a correspondence.
Difficult to believe that after government's pleading with Labour to, sheath your sword, that no meeting has happened since the last time you had, this face-to-face with the president. Come to think of it, has Labour really come up with concrete recommendations as to what kind of palliatives that government should provide? Because apparently some states now, Imo, Bayelsa and a few others, Oyo also, have started distributing some form of palliatives or the other. Does Labour have something better on the table? And what is it?
Imo, Bayelsa are sharing items because of the election in November. And I don't think we should, mix it up, And what you are calling palliative are just mere tokenism. Palliative of 1 cup of rice or 1,500 are mere tokenism. Those are not the things Labour came to the table with. Labour came to the table, believing that there is going to be a wage award which is sustainable, which is not give me today and don't give me tomorrow. And that is to be negotiated. That has not come to pass. Labour came to the table that we can have an alternative energy source, the CNG, which is available in the country, and that the government can even get buses, driven by CNG, and that if you bring buses driven by CNG, the cost of transportation will reduce. Where you have 100 naira, you can get them for 20 naira or 30 naira or 50 naira. And when the cost of transportation reduces, every day somebody goes out and comes back, he has the capacity to save 1,000 naira every day on transportation alone. And that will amount to almost 30,000. And those that use private vehicles, if you fill your tank with 40,000, you can now fill your tank with less than 20,000, and that you have savings in your pocket. Those are the alternatives we are looking at. Those are the kind of palliatives we are looking at. We are not looking at dashing people money. We are not looking at giving 5 trucks of rice that will not get to people one cup, and that is not sustainable.
Okay, well said. In any case, let's look at the issue of the CNG. The government already has a plan on the ground to roll out a test of that. So what else are you looking at? Because if you're talking about wage raise, that can also raise inflation and all that. So are you also considering the different parameters and implications and ramifications of these your demands?
Well, I don't understand you where you got that logic that wage increase in a depressed economy where workers can't even, their salary cannot last them for one day, you say it is going to cause inflation. I don't understand that economic logic. When you increase wages, the purchasing power increases. The economy booms. And you now say that people should remain on 1,000 a month and that wage raise will create, it doesn't follow. When government makes pronouncement that they are going to look at CNG and in a tripartite meeting, in a meeting that two parties are working on, and government makes a pronouncement that they are working on CNG, and you believe that to be the gospel truth, you believe that to be an agreement, my brother, nothing is on ground. Let's take it, let's leave polemics and face the real issues. If they are talking about, does it take rocket science for you to go into CNG? Does it take how many days for you to start conversion of vehicles and for people to see that you are working? Does it take how many months, for workers and their earnings for us to sit down and look at what a wage, award should look like? So I don't think all those ones, those are capitalist, theories that doesn't work anywhere. So why are you now increasing what is being paid to members of the National Assembly at the face of the so-called worsening economic situation without anybody looking at it? Why is the Wike demolishing people's houses all over to worsen the situation of the poor and the less privileged in the society?
Wike, one of your demands of the 3 or 4 that I have on the table here, Wike's proposed demolition in the FCT, but of course he's the new minister of the FCT, and of course against police siege at Nigeria Union of Road Transport Workers. You're making a lot more demands than the issue of palliatives. Let's stay with this Wike's proposed demolition. He says he wants to bring back the Abuja master plan. What do you have against it? That
Abuja master plan you are talking of, that doesn't have a proposal for workers' village, that doesn't have a proposal for no master plan for the masses, then you have to provide alternative for them. They will look for shelter. I want to know whether the Aso Villa is part of the Abuja master plan. And the Abuja master plan, is it exclusive to some people? Is it not a public knowledge? If people are violating it and are building there, are you not supposed to stop them before they build? Who are the people who are locating those places where people are building? Why is that the only job of the Minister of FCT? Is it to demolish houses, of the less privileged in the society? Can you relocate them if you feel that they're occupying a place you said is illegal? Why don't you legalize it or give them a place or relocate them? Can the poor get even a quarter plot of land in Abuja where they can build their own house and you see whether they build it in another place? These are issues begging for question. And we can't continue this way, to continue to torment the poor and the less privileged.
Joe, we want to reassure you that we are certainly on the side of the masses. We want the people to live well and comfortably too. So we're not against your demands at all. Exactly. We're just trying to brainstorm with you to see if you also look at the flip side of some of those demands and how you can quickly also suggest solutions when you're pushing these demands to the government so that we don't come back to square one eventually. That's the reason why we're looking at the different parameters to this demand. So in that light, are you also considering the possibility of having a meeting, not with the president this time around, but with the minister of the FCT and let him see some of these reasons and demands that you so passionately believe should be considered for the masses and especially the workers?
When people assume office, they meet various stakeholders and they chart the way forward. If the first day you are resuming office, you are demolishing houses, you have those plans before you resume. We are not averse. In fact, part of our job 100% of our job is meeting, social dialogue, negotiating, and finding solution to problems, of the society. We are ready, we are willing at any point in time. But if anybody decides to act arbitrarily, it becomes difficult to engage the person meaningfully on the table. If anybody decides to behave like a tyrant, tyrants don't negotiate and they don't want to listen to people. So that makes it difficult, for us to negotiate. So, but we think that the essence of any minister, any governor, any appointee is for public good and to make sure that they don't worsen the, lifestyle or the source of living of people. That's the whole essence. When people look at it and when people abandon it and adopt sadism as a state policy, then there's a problem somewhere.
Quickly, before we let you go, is the Trade Union Congress part of this planned strike?
The NLC is met at their next meeting and they are taking this action. It was not a joint next meeting. It is not a joint action between the NLC and TUC. When TUC meets, they are free to take their own position or we harmonize.
Thank you very much. Joe Ajaero, Nigeria Labour Congress President, speaking with us there on the planned two-day warning strike to take place Tuesday and Wednesday of next week.